Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I'm here today playing with my toys. The uh, the student I worked with yesterday said, "Well, what if we just use a bunch of parallel processing to create the extra tracks along with the drums? New York compression, parallel processing for effects. Let's look at it today." What we done was to create a electronic drummer, chop it up into regions and create slightly different, energetic parts so that it had a little bit of kind of flow. And then in the channel strip, I'm hitting it with a little EQ and compression, but we've got some pre-fader sends. Each of those sends is turned up pretty high, and it's being sent to one of these three extra channel strips. And each of these channel strips, they're aux strips, have a bunch of processing on them. First thing I do is I put a little EQ and then send it to my effects and then pan them accordingly. Well, I've created an automated version of what we did, and let's just play it and I'll talk it through a little bit and then we'll go into great detail. Here we go from the top. That was just the effects. And then the drummer comes in. We sent some of the drums to a guitar amp. That's what we're hearing here. And then, for the tonal stuff, we sent the drums to a couple of space designers and tuned them. And then added some step effects to give it some animation. The only sound source is the drum track. I love the guitar amp version of the drums. A little distortion goes a long way, right? Well, one by one, let's look at the aux tracks. So I've got a lot going on in these aux tracks, and I'm just going to open up all four of the things we have happening and then go in reverse order. First of all, the last thing I put on this channel strip was stereo spread, which is super useful for things which wind up being kind of collapsed a bit. And you can see I pulled the lower limit kind of down because I don't want the mid-range and the bass to be hard left and right, just the highs. And, we could have probably a higher order, but we didn't really need that much. I really wanted left and right feeling. Okay, so here's the last thing. And I'm just using a Phat FX to give it some character. And you can see that the filter is wobbling left and right. And that gives me a really nice sort of animated rock and roll sound. After the amp, you can see the amp right up above me here, I used a gate, and the gate really does help tighten down the amp effect, because if the amp is distortion oriented, and that's kind of what I like, it's going to be really noisy, and I don't want the distortion and the noise to take over. Now, the Blue Cat Audio free amplifier is really terrific, and that's what we've used here. Listen to that thickness. As opposed to, right? What a difference, huh? Okay, let's go on. So on my other two aux channels, I knew I needed something that was sort of tonal. So my favorite tonal trick is to throw something into a reverb and focus the reverb sound. And, Space Designer is great for that because the drum transformer impulse responses give you an opportunity to kind of tune things to pitches. Now, I wound up using a 400% size in order to get the sort of right tone that I wanted. So on space number 1, I've got a drum transformer 1, and on space number 2, drum transformer 7. They both are working for me in a pretty good way, and the sizes are huge. And what that means is there's a lot going on processing-wise. So it's a little bit hard on the computer, but what the heck. Now, on each of those, I put step effects. And the step effects are similar, but I changed things around a little bit. For instance, over here, you can see each of these step lengths are 16. Over here, I think I shortened this filter cutoff to 14. Now, 14 steps means that it's going to be working against this one in an interesting way. That's interference of periodicity, right? Well, let's go on and listen to them coming in. Here they come. You actually hear notes there, right? And between the gating and the filter, we're getting a lot of animation. Now, I love that sound. It's so cool. We could probably sidechain that even harder, but the gate effects are doing a lot of that work for us. And there's no automation on any of the step effects or, the filter cutoff or anything like that. It's just LFO. Well, I do love parallel processing. I like on vocal or piano or guitar, even a clean track. With a couple of aux sends, I might add a little tiny bit of distortion or hit a compressor very hard and sneak it up under the original track. It's called New York compression, and it's a way of adding body and density to your tracks. Well, I hope this was useful. Like and subscribe, and ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my next video. I'll see you next time.